The sun blazed down on the winding streets of Los Angeles, casting long shadows across the opulent mansions and manicured lawns of Beverly Hills. It was just another day in the city of angels, where dreams were built and shattered with equal frequency. But for two individuals, this ordinary Tuesday was about to become extraordinary. Keanu Reeves, the beloved actor known for his roles in blockbusters like The Matrix and Wick, stepped out of his modest sedan, squinting against the bright California sun. He was dressed casually in worn jeans, a faded black t-shirt, and scuffed boots, a far cry from the sleek suits he wore on the red carpet. Today, Keanu wasn't here to film a movie or attend a glamorous event. No, he was on a much more mundane mission, house hunting. Time for a change, Keanu muttered to himself, adjusting his sunglasses. Something quieter, away from the spotlight. He glanced at the address on his phone, confirming he was in the right place. The house before him was a stunning example of modern architecture, all clean lines and expansive windows, promising breathtaking views of the city below. As Keanu approached the property, another car pulled up. Out stepped Sarah Thompson, a 28-year-old real estate agent with ambition written all over her designer suit and perfectly coiffed hair. She was talking animatedly on her phone, her free hand gesticulating wildly. "Yes, Mr. Smith, I'm on my way to show you that beautiful property in the hills. Trust me, you're going to love it." Sarah's voice was filled with enthusiasm as she ended the call and smoothed down her skirt. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what she hoped would be a big sale and a much-needed boost to her career. Sarah's eyes landed on Keanu, who was now standing near the entrance of the house. Not recognizing the world-famous actor, she assumed this must be her client, Mr. Smith. Plastering on her best professional smile, she strode towards him with confidence. "Mr. Smith? I'm Sarah Thompson. It's a pleasure to meet you," she said brightly, extending her hand. Keanu paused for a moment, a flicker of amusement crossing his face. He could correct her, but something curious perhaps, or a mischievous streak made him decide to play along. "Nice to meet you, Sarah," he replied, shaking her hand firmly. If Sarah noticed the slight hesitation, she didn't show it. Instead, she launched into her well-rehearsed spiel about the property, her words tumbling out in a rush of enthusiasm. "You're going to absolutely love this house, Mr. Smith. It's a true gem in the Beverly Hills market." As they entered the house, Sarah couldn't help but notice her client's shabby appearance. His worn jeans and scuffed boots made her wonder if he could actually afford such a luxurious property. Despite her doubts, she pressed on, determined to make a sale. The foyer of the house was a masterpiece of modern design, with soaring ceilings and a chandelier that looked more like a floating art installation than a light fixture. Sarah gestured grandly, her voice taking on a slightly condescending tone. "This, Mr. Smith, is what we call a foyer. It's the entrance to the home." Keanu raised an eyebrow but remained silent. He was curious to see how far this would go. As they moved into the living room, Sarah's explanations became increasingly simplified. "This is the living room," she said, gesturing vaguely. "It's where, people live." Keanu nodded solemnly, fighting to keep a straight face. "I see. And people sit on these chair-like objects?" Sarah missed the sarcasm entirely. "Yes, exactly. You're catching on quick, Mr. Smith." As the tour progressed, Sarah's patience began to wear thin. In the kitchen, she found herself explaining basic appliances as if speaking to a child. "This is a refrigerator. It keeps food cold." Keanu, deciding to test her a bit, asked, "And this shiny box with the door? What does it do?" Sarah sighed, her tone now openly patronizing. "That's an oven, Mr. Smith. It cooks food using heat." In the master bedroom, Keanu's patience was tested as Sarah's attitude became increasingly dismissive. When he asked an intelligent question about the construction materials used, she answered curtly, clearly assuming he wouldn't understand a more detailed explanation. "Look, Mr. Smith," she said with a barely concealed sigh, "this might be a bit out of your range. Perhaps I could show you some more modest options." Just as Sarah was about to suggest they end the tour, a group of teenagers walked by the open front door. One of them stopped dead in his tracks, eyes wide with recognition. "Oh my God!" he exclaimed. "You're Keanu Reeves!" The other teens quickly gathered, excited chatter filling the air. "Can we get a picture? Please?" one of them asked, phone already in hand. Sarah froze, her face draining of color as the realization hit her. She turned slowly to face her client, who had removed his sunglasses, revealing the unmistakable face of Keanu Reeves. She stammered, mortification washing over her. Keanu, to his credit, handled the situation with grace. He smiled at the teens, signed a few autographs, and gently asked for some privacy to finish the house tour. Once they were alone again, he turned to Sarah, who looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her whole. "Mr. Reeves, I am so sorry," Sarah began, her voice trembling. "My behavior was inexcusable. I made assumptions, and I treated you poorly. I understand if you want to terminate this viewing immediately." Keanu studied her for a moment, his expression unreadable. Then, to Sarah's surprise, he smiled. "We all make mistakes, Sarah. The question is, what do we learn from them?" Relieved but still ashamed, Sarah took a deep breath. "I've learned never to judge a book by its cover. Every client, every person, deserves respect and professionalism, regardless of how they look or what I assume about them. I'm truly sorry, and I'd like to start over if you'll let me." Keanu nodded, impressed by her sincerity. "I'd like that. Now, why don't you tell me about those fancy appliances and stuff in the kitchen?" he said with a wink. Sarah managed a small laugh, grateful for the opportunity to redeem herself. As they retraced their steps through the house, she made sure to give Keanu the full, professional experience he deserved. She answered his questions thoroughly, pointed out unique features of the property, and maintained a respectful, friendly demeanor. As they concluded the tour, Sarah felt a mix of emotions: embarrassment at her earlier behavior, relief at Keanu's forgiveness, and a deep sense of having learned a valuable lesson. "Mr. Reeves," she said as they stood in the foyer, "I want to thank you for your patience and understanding. This experience has taught me so much about professionalism and the danger of making assumptions." Keanu smiled warmly. "You know, Sarah, in my line of work, I've learned that everyone has a story. The key is to approach each person with an open mind and a kind heart. You never know what someone might be going through or who they might be beneath the surface." Sarah nodded, taking his words to heart. "I'll remember that, Mr. Reeves. And again, I'm truly sorry for my behavior earlier." To Sarah's surprise, Keanu didn't just accept her apology, he went a step further. "You know, despite the rocky start, I'm actually quite interested in this property. And more than that, I've been impressed by your ability to acknowledge your mistake and turn things around. That's a rare quality." Sarah's eyes widened. "Really? I mean, thank you, Mr. Reeves. That means a lot coming from you." Keanu nodded. "In fact, I have a few friends in the industry who are also looking for new homes. Would you be interested in working with them as well?" Sarah could hardly believe her ears. Not only had she salvaged what could have been a career-ending disaster, but she was now being offered an incredible opportunity. Yes, absolutely. I would be honored." As Keanu prepared to leave, Sarah felt compelled to share one last thought. "Mr. Reeves, I want you to know that this experience has changed me. I've always prided myself on being a good real estate agent, but today I realize that being good at your job isn't just about knowledge or sales skills. It's about treating every person with respect and dignity." Keanu smiled, clearly touched by her words. "That's a valuable lesson, Sarah. And please call me Keanu." As they shook hands goodbye, Keanu left Sarah with one final piece of advice. "Remember," he said with his characteristic warmth, "be excellent to each other." With those words, he drove away, leaving Sarah with a story she would never forget and a lesson she would carry throughout her career. In the weeks that followed, Sarah's encounter with Keanu Reeves became something of a legend in the Los Angeles real estate community. But more importantly, it marked a turning point in her career and personal growth. True to his word, Keanu recommended Sarah to several of his Hollywood friends. Her business boomed, but she never forgot the lesson she learned that fateful day. She approached each client with respect and openness, regardless of their appearance or perceived status. Sarah often reflected on how close she had come to ruining her career through her own prejudice and assumptions. The experience had taught her the value of humility, the importance of second chances, and the power of learning from one's mistakes. Years later, Sarah had become one of the most successful and respected real estate agents in Los Angeles. She was known not just for her impressive sales record, but for her kindness, professionalism, and ability to connect with clients from all walks of life. Whenever she interviewed potential new agents for her growing firm, Sarah always shared the story of her encounter with Keanu Reeves. "Remember," she would tell them, echoing Keanu's words, "in this business, and in life, always be excellent to each other. You never know whose life you might touch or what opportunities might arise when you approach every person with respect and an open mind." And so, what had started as a potentially disastrous encounter became a powerful lesson in humility, professionalism, and the enduring impact of kindness. Sarah's experience with Keanu Reeves not only changed the trajectory of her career but also shaped her into a better person, a living testament to the fact that sometimes, our greatest teachers come in the most unexpected forms. As for Keanu, he did end up purchasing the house. And every time Sarah drove past it, she smiled, remembering the day that changed everything, the day she learned not to judge a book by its cover, especially when that book turned out to be one of Hollywood's most beloved stars.